Next up we have Brian Klopping. He's a 23-year-old Gemini from Omaha, Nebraska. He is double majoring in English and Fine Arts, and you may recognize him from local art exhibits or performances in several musical groups. He'll be reading poems about life, death, poetry, alcohol, murder, and God. He also informed me that he hates writing bios and that if his didn't sound right, I should make something up. But I'll let him worry about that. So, Brian.
Alright, I have 6 pieces today. Thanks enough for having me, for sure. I want to thank Cody for this one, helping me define my voice. It's called In Kess I Trust. Being up this high, I'm afraid to drink. I'm afraid to drink, wondering what God might think. He might look in the window, penetrate the whiskey ice, or turn his cloudy head the other way, if he's feeling nice. He might knock me from this thin air, leaving my heavy body bare, breaking the surface of the salty sea to lay for the rest of eternity. I'm afraid to drink in the filthy clouds, because God knows the reason I do. He might expose it, a vulgar marquee, hovering over my thirsty head to show all of you. Musical stagnation, say it might, or how about sedated with fright, guilty conscience grieving, or fear of Amy leaving. These are the things that break my sleep at night. Julius Kessler is not tall enough to fight the marquee halo's height. But I suppose he might outweigh this fear, quite the delightful sight. Dear stewardess, I think I'll have a Kessler with Sprite. Alright, this one is a persona poem about murder. It's called The Peace, Vindication of an 18-year-old Girl in the Winter just outside of town. I slit her throat while she dreamed. In this bleached world, everything makes sense. All of life's infidelities are buried in these vacant rifts. In a world of purity, I am liberated. The dark bedroom smelled of cigarettes and desperate sex. Her sleeping skin glowed in the dark. This tightrope walking angel forgot her wings. I smelled her sweet life and ended it with a splash of blood, a Ralph Steadman. I dragged her corpse to the woods. The ambient bliss of a resounding silence makes sense. As the white sky falls, my hair grabs at her numbing beauty. It escapes me how something simple can astound me so. Out the back door, I intended to give her back to the world. A cold porcelain doll, sexy and coy as a Leonardo da Vinci. She won't be stealing glances across the bar anymore. I tied her to a tree. The forest wears a blanket and makes perfect sense. Bitter winds knock at the door of life like a hungry vampire. Vapor-filled clouds magnify the moon to light the scene. It seems redundant restricting her body. The ropes would surely be cutting off her circulation, if she had any. She wouldn't be so appetizing as a Pablo Picasso. I stripped her naked. In old television, we get all the colors right so far. It all makes sense. Black, white, and gray contain this still frame. I can smell the freeze. It reminds me of rain in my school clothes. Her body looks so fitting, so right in this story. A Salvador Dali dream. A return to nature, she will help nurture life in death. I rubbed my cheeks against hers, she was still soft. I watched them eat her. With skin so asleep, my core is alive and roaring. This night makes sense. A snug jacket encompasses an ecstatic soul. I won't be coming home for quite some time. Her remains are cold and dark, dull as a tree she is tied to. Red wine blood splatters the scene like a Jackson Pollock. The artist finally adds a bit of color to this dream. This one's called Hall Song. It's written as a lyric. I had a dream of an awful scene in a long dark dreary hall. In the rooms that stood in front of me there were pairs of broken dolls. It was here that it came clear that work was to be done. I knew that I could never be free until I fixed every last one. I fixed everyone. It was in the final room, the one that scared me most. I could feel the chill inside my spine, see my friend's sister's ghost. Her dolls were the saddest and the only that I feared. I could see my own demise in her eyes. It was mirrored. It was mirrored. Well, no one knows how I've witnessed death, and I stared it in the face. I waited for his chest to rise with the breath inside that place. I'll tell you that I witnessed death, and I stared it in the face, and then I drank all night till I thought I couldn't trace. I'll never trace. I spent my days in a drunken haze trying to make myself forget, but sometimes I can see the face of God in a smoldering cigarette. I wonder if he forgives me for the place I've stuck myself, or if he's disappointed for the way I've lost myself. I know I've gotten lost. I forced myself into the night, a night out on the town. The night sky is a cyclops, and he's laughing, staring me down. With a steady hand that begs the question, and a shaking one that won't. This town's got eyes and ears and tongues, but open arms that don't. No, it don't. There's a growing list of people I hate whose names I'll never know. It's a growing hate that's born deep inside with the passion now it grows. I continually try to keep it hidden up upon a shelf, but I know everything that I hate. It's something in myself. Is it myself? I realize behind all this hatred and this anger and this fear, there's definitely a deeper truth that's starting to come clear. It's through these dreams and witnesses and nights wasted away that I know I've seen some awful shit, and I've seen some awful days. I've seen worse days. To make it through this life and love is a choice I have to make. There will be nights that I'm scared to death and never want to wake. There's nowhere I can point my finger, there's no one I can blame, so I thank God that I'm alive when I'm done cursing his name. I'm done cursing his name. It's another persona poem. It's about Albert Fish. The bastard's gavel is coming down, and all of these simpletons won't stop staring at me. Her flesh smelled of sunbathed and sunscreen and chlorine. She was the sweetest smelling thing on the whole goddamn boring beach. Even after I burned her clothes and whipped her skin raw, her eternal scent is the only burden that stays with me. I didn't mind her cries so much. After all, we all have to eat. They say I torture them all. Well, torture is defined by intentions, right? I intended for her elementary school veal to become tender. For my trip to Asia, my only souvenir was this new taste, this odd hunger. This souvenir causes such an appetite. She was my prized catch. You could never find an end that juicy on the market in Hong Kong. I ate her stew with strawberries and grape soda. She loved grape soda. She had come over that day to enjoy some strawberries. We sliced them into bite-sized pieces. We were both hungrily looking forward to a delightful meal. We each had our fill, eventually. Now this court's going to have its fill of old Albert. Maybe someday God will have his fill of them. Do not judge lest thee be judged, right? As the journey approaches the stand, there's a verdict knocking at the splintered door, yet my starving belly turns, a concrete truck churning its load in church. All I can think about is the stench of her sweet, sun-baked hide.